Today we've got your full in-depth review on this bad boy. It's the Tamron 28-75mm F2.8, but this is the second version, the G2 version, and we're going to be comparing these two a little bit, but mostly focusing on this guy and the phenomenal upgrades that come with it. I didn't really expect this thing to come out, and here it is, and after having it for a little bit, it's much welcomed. It's a pretty big improvement in every aspect, so I'm excited to show this bad boy to you today. Here are some specs on this guy to get you going, my friends, and if you haven't seen one of my videos before, my name's Stefan Malik. I do a lot of photography and filmmaking news reviews and tutorials, so if you do enjoy this review and it helps you out, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and join the community. And who do I recommend this lens to? Well, it's a phenomenal all-around shooter, and I could completely recommend it to anybody, even doing professional work. It is a budget lens, but it's got fantastic performance, as you'll see. And having said that, guys, let's dive into the first category, which happens to be the build and features. Unsurprising in today's world, with a budget lens, you're going to get just a bit of paperwork and the lens and a lens hood included in an unboxing. I personally have a surplus of lens cases that I've collected over the years that just kind of sit in a drawer, so I can appreciate not a lot being included these days and keeping the cost down. This lens is a great size, measuring 5 3/4 inches long, not extended, and without the lens hood, it's only 4 1/8 inches long. If you do extend it, of course it does extend as you zoom, and you're looking at only 6.5 inches, a 1/4 inch less than the original. Now in this version, Tamron's added a focus set button, which traditionally would be known as a focus hold button, but it's much more than that. And using Tamron's new lens utility software, you can make this lens do a ton of amazing things, from changing it to an automatic manual focus button, picking an A to B point of focus, changing your focus ring to an aperture ring, changing your focus ring direction, and several other features that really let you take the customization of a lens to a level that we've never seen before. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, to connect it to the software as well as your computer, there is an exposed USB Type-C port right in the middle of the lens. And this is a little bit curious for me and does concern me a little bit in terms of weather sealing, but Tamron has assured us that this is moisture resistant and not going to be an issue. I am a tiny bit skeptical about this, but I guess time will tell. There are no other buttons or switches on this lens, and both the zoom and focus rings have been upgraded with a new tactile feel, which does give it an overall better feel of quality. It does take some getting used to and feels a bit more like a G Master lens than your typical Tamron. Like the original, this lens utilizes 67mm filter threads, and of course does have Tamron's front element coatings to help with ghosting and flare. On the back, a confident metal mount with a rubber gasket for additional weather sealing. Overall, for the build and features of this lens, I think it's a fantastic upgrade over the original in pretty much every aspect, minus that exposed USB port, which hopefully won't be an issue. I give it 4.5 stars. Next up, in terms of value, I'll keep this short and sweet. This thing at $899 has absolutely incredible value, and at $879 now for the old one at MSRP, there's really no reason to buy it. This lens hands down is an incredible value, and I give it 5 stars. Okay, so looking at performance now, and we're going to dive right into the autofocus of this beast. And one of the big differences of this lens compared to the original is the new inclusion of the VXD focusing motors. This is the next generation of Tamron's extremely fast and extremely accurate focusing motors, and they do not disappoint. Even in these less than ideal lighting conditions, and even from minimum to way out there focusing, it's really fast, really snappy and responsive. And here's a look at how the original 28-75 performs without those focusing motors. As you can see, it's quite a dramatic difference, and if you do want to see a more in-depth comparison, check out my full in-depth comparison video on both of these lenses. Here's a look side by side, and in great conditions, both of these lenses will perform fantastically, but in lower light, the G2 definitely has the advantage, as well as just an overall faster and more confident autofocus. The manual focus experience is quite a bit improved over the original as well, and not just from the physical characteristics, the grippy focus ring, but now you can customize it in the app, and the responsiveness and handling of it is just that much better. As far as focus breathing is concerned, it is improved over the first version as well, but still not perfect. And here's another side-by-side comparison for you. And here's a look at how it performs in terms of photography. This is 31 shots in succession, shot on the A7 III in high plus 10 frames per second, and it keeps up very, very well, all but the second to last photo being in perfect focus, and it's off by just the tiniest little bit. This is of course a stressful situation for this lens wide open like any, but I can say confidently that it's going to be a great performer for photography. Here's some test shots that I've taken with this lens, and I gotta say, it's like second nature after owning the version 1. It's just really a great lens all around, and I really enjoy it. And now with the added features, it's just that much better. I really love the 28-75 focal length. The absence of 24mm has never been an issue for me. It's literally a step backwards, and if that does make a difference for you, maybe consider something like a 16-35 instead if you're really needing those wide shots. Now, a few things to note here. In terms of chromatic aberration, it controls it very well, even better than the original. It also has 9 aperture blades like the original, but in my opinion, the beautiful bokeh of this lens has been further improved, and 2.8 of course isn't the fastest lens on the planet, but well, you be the judge. Which one do you think looks better? And here's another example. See if you can pick out which one you think is the newer lens. I'll give you a little hint. The newer lens has just a little bit warmer of a cast on it. Did you pick the right one? I also wanted to touch on the impressive minimum focus distance that's been further improved on version 2 down to 0.18 meters or just about 7 inches. You can get very, very close to your subject here, especially at 28mm. Our maximum magnification ratio is going to be 1 to 2.7 on the wide side and 1 to 4.1 on the telephoto side of things. So you definitely can get up close and personal, so close that you got to worry about shadows in some cases. Let's have a quick detailed look at the sharpness and optics of this lens now. Here we are wide open at f2.8 at 28mm. The center of the image is impressively sharp, great color, great contrast, but what about the corners? The corners are a decent performance here. You can notice a little bit of vignetting, nothing too bad, but let's see what happens when we stop down. Stopping down to f4 here, we see a noticeable improvement in vignetting, and the sharpness also improves. Here looking pretty good at f5.6, much better in fact, and f8 is a fantastic performance across the board. Very impressive. Down to f11 now, still looking pretty darn good, and at f16 we can notice just a tiny bit of softness. Down at f22, still completely usable, but we can notice some definite degradation going on. And here we are at 75mm wide open at f2.8, same thing in the center, really nice, really sharp, great color and contrast. And what about the corners? The corners are actually looking quite impressive here wide open. Stopping down to see an further improvement and that vignetting dissipate just a little bit more. Down to 5.6 looking really good now, and f8 probably your best image. Looking fantastic now in the corners, and stopping down to f11 still looking really good. At f16 you'll start to notice just a little bit of degradation, and down to f22 where it's not advisable but completely usable. A great overall performance. And here's a look at the minimum focus distance image quality. As you can see, the center of the image is quite nice, even wide open here at f2.8. The corners do leave something to be desired though. Stopping down to f8 you see quite a bit of an improvement, but again, the corners are, well, definitely not perfect. A quick look at the distortion and vignetting of this lens now. You can see here at 28mm wide open, it does have some barrel distortion here to speak of and a bit of vignetting. Of course, we can clear that right up with a profile correction or in-camera corrections to make it look something like this. Much better. And here at 75, again, a tiny bit of vignetting and a bit of pincushion distortion this time. Once again, use that profile correction and it's looking pretty good. Definitely no deal breakers here, and in terms of sharpness and optics, a fantastic performance. In fact, for performance as a whole, this lens is a beast, and I give it 4.5 stars. So wrapping up guys, I'll give you my final thoughts on this lens. I think this is the lens that nobody asked for, but everybody really wants. It's a fantastic upgrade over the original, and as always, here's all my personal pros and cons for this lens. If you're a subscriber, you also know that I like to rate things on a scale from never think about again to consider to definitely buy. And if you happen to be in the market for a budget-friendly, fast, amazing performing, great standard zoom lens, well, then this one is a definite buy. And there you have it, my friends. There's my thoughts on the awesome new 28-75 F2.8 from Tamron, the G2. It does not disappoint, as you saw. So what do I think about this thing over the original? I think it is a fantastic upgrade, and yeah, probably well worth the money, especially if you shoot video. So if you do plan on picking this lens up, if you want to buy it, I'll drop affiliate links down below in the description for you. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, join the community, and like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.